Hey guys, Hideous here. We're taking a quick look at a Quinn game, Quinn into Teemo. This is in bronze, and we're just going to mostly be taking a look at the laning phase here and talking about this matchup. It's sort of an irritating one. So basically, the trick here is that Teemo is the other champion in the game with the blind, or yes, he's the only champion in the game with the blind now that Quinn is blind has changed to a near sight. So he is a quintessential lane bully because he can hit you with his blind and automatically win trades. Plus he has a dot on his auto attacks, which just adds damage on top of just being super annoying and hard to get away from. So Quinn does okay versus Teemo if you play the matchup right. Better than some. Better than a melee champion for sure. So we'll see how this goes here, and we'll talk about how this goes and maybe some ways to improve on how this lane phase ends up. Speed up until things get cooking a little bit here. So this you're probably waiting right now to do an early cheese, and that's okay. But I'm glad you didn't go for it because where he's standing, you would have lost. You would have had to walk up to him, and it would have taken too long. He would have been able to respond. So what we saw right there, where you auto-attacked him and he blinded you, he does more damage to you when he does that, especially as he levels that ability up. So that trade was actually pretty even, but it won't be that way the next time it happens. As soon as he hits level 2, or level 3, I guess, if he levels it twice, but the first time he puts a second level into Q, and certainly when he gets an item, that ability will just do more damage. You'll only have time to get one auto attack off before he blinds you, and his blind will do more damage than your auto. So right there, he used blind on that minion. It was a misclick. So look for that, because that's a trade. So your trigger conditions for laning versus Teemo are you do not trade. That's your rule of thumb. You don't trade because he will win trades. If you go into auto attack him, he will auto attack you. That's pretty even with the dot. But then he'll blind you, and you'll miss 2, maybe 3 auto attacks, potentially even your Harrio auto attacks if he times it well. You'll miss 2 or 3 while he will be able to keep hitting you, and by the time his blind wears off, you'll go back to being even, and he'll be ahead. So you just lose the trade. So do not trade with him. The only times you can trade with him, unless obviously you have a massive item advantage or something, but even then it's tricky. But the only times you can trade with him are if you land your blind. So if you land a blind here and he can't see you to target his Q is a targeted ability, he has to see you. So if you blind him and you're out of range, so he can't target you with it, you probably have time for 1 auto attack. Take that empowered auto and then back out. That's a quick trade, and you'll win that trade. The only other time you trade is if he does what he does here. He walks up, he tries to click you, probably, and he misclicks. Now you don't know he misclicks, so you're backing off, and that's okay. But right there, you see that he blinds the minion. The cooldown on his blind is 8 seconds, and you should have a feel for roughly what that is. So as soon as that happens, now he's vulnerable. You could snap your Q real quick, because he's probably not aware that he misclicked. Snap off a Q, get the blind, take the auto, vault in, take the next auto. Without the blind, you do win trades if you can get your Harrier procs. But if he blinds you, then not so much. So look for opportunities like that. If he ever uses that Q on... Well, I take it back. Maybe he didn't use his Q on the minion. So that might have been a bad example. But if he does that, I'm mixing up his effects here. I thought the purple effect was his blind. Okay, it's that bigger one. That cloud is the blind. So if you see that, or obviously if it wears off and you're okay. If you know it's on cooldown, go in for a trade. If it's not on cooldown, you'll lose the trade. Okay, speed up a little bit here. So right now you're keeping up with him in farm. You should be ahead in farm. You missed a couple easy ones. But that's okay. You're keeping up. You're letting him push. That's fine. There's no disadvantage to letting him push you here. You can't trade with him, and that's fine. So right here you have an opportunity to freeze, and you don't take it, but you have an opportunity to freeze. So if you just let these live and only last hit them, then the wave will freeze here for almost as long as you want it to, as long as you can keep up with, you know, he'll come in and auto attack, so you keep pace with him. But if you maintain this 3 minion advantage on his wave, it'll freeze right here, and and it might even push in a little bit. Or you could let him push it in a little bit. And then you're in a much more advantageous place. He can't chase you down and kill you because you're right in front of your turret. So his threat is significantly reduced. You're probably giving him a little too much respect here. You're backing off, and that's causing you to miss some CS. You're missing some autos. Yeah, so that's an example. Like you went in for not, you landed that auto attack, so you got the trade, but then he immediately just Qs you, and it does significantly more damage. And almost causes you to miss more CS. So even right there, rather than letting that hit the turret, soak up a couple of minion auto attacks and try to freeze the lane. That would have froze it right here. And that would have been beautiful. So tank the minions for an auto attack or two until your wave gets there. Got the cannon. Okay, he blinds you there, but doesn't really do much. So that's a chance. That's an opportunity where now he hit the blind, so he's thinking that he's got you on lockdown, that you're not a threat. So right there, if you want to, you have a chance. So he's probably trying to block you from getting the cannon, and he mistimes it. So he goes in, he hits you with the blind, and now you have a chance. Immediately when he's coming in like that, you should just snap your Q out, because he's gonna, if you're this way, he's gonna have to go past the minion wave. So snap your Q out. At least it'll do damage, because the blind doesn't stop your Q from doing damage, only auto attacks. So when he's coming, throw your Q out. Maybe it stops him from hitting you with Q at all, but then it does stop him from following up on it. So if you hit him with your Q, then it does a chunk of damage, and then the second that the blind wears off, if he lands, he won't be able to see where you're at. You can get in range and be ready to proc the auto as soon as the blind wears off. So then, now that it's down, you could hit him with that, proc that Harrier auto, sneak in one more auto, vault to reset your attack animation, proc the next auto, and then back off, because his blind will be back up. So Teemo is a lane where you really have to take advantage of trading windows. Okay, so I think this is where you mess up pretty badly. So real quick before we go in there, he is just constantly pushing the wave, which again you can use to your advantage. He's just mindlessly pushing it. He could be zoning you out, like he could be starving you to know you would be weeping in front of your monitor. He could be sitting in this push and just last hitting, slow hitting, and slow pushing the wave and zoning you out completely. You wouldn't be able to farm without him forcing trades on you that you would lose. So he could be punishing you a lot harder. Fortunately, he's not. You're pretty much keeping up in farm. You're starting to fall behind here, but not too bad. If you're able to get all of these, then you'll only be, and he gets all of these, you'll only be, I think, 2 behind. But again, he's mindlessly pushing it. So again, if you can let him do that and then freeze it right about here, he'll have a much harder time trading on you, and you'll have a much easier time controlling the wave. And just right here, even if he does trade on you, you're okay. So he lands the blind. Maybe this isn't where it happens. Because now what's going to happen is the wave is going to hit right here, and it's even. And again, unless he just mindlessly pushes it, which he is doing, and you let him, it's going to over time start pushing back to his turret, and a better opponent will use that to his advantage. And he'd be able to zone you out even harder. Okay, so I'm not sure what the plan was here. So we're going to take a look at this. So no trades have gone well so far. So I'm assuming that maybe this is just frustration. So you hit your W and you see, or maybe it's, I don't know, maybe there's an error or something goes wrong here. I'm not sure. But you hit W and you see that there's nobody here, which is good. I'm glad you're checking to make sure you're not about to get ganked before you do something. So you W, you can hit your Q from here, by the way. You don't necessarily. So you auto and then Q. That's good. I'm glad you're comboing those abilities like that. So the Q lands, but he lands as blind. So right now there's a problem. You are in a very bad position, just positioning wise. You want to be moving out to here where you have more freedom of movement, ideally behind your casters, so that he has to chase you into them. Right here you're just going to get stuck, and it's not horrible because you're not in range of his casters to do damage to you, and you do land the blind and you're outside of it, so you're not going to take too much punishment here, but you can't back off easily, and you're not going to attract a lot of minions. So holding that, it doesn't matter too much because it doesn't proc the mark. It'll still be there, but if you know you're going to get blinded, then hold the auto. But that's where, as soon as you hit, you should be moving here. He's moving into you to mitigate the blind, and you should be moving to stay outside of it. And that's something you can anticipate. Land the blind and try to stay at max auto attack range. So he comes in. He could have already autoed you once. So you missed the proc. So you didn't hold the auto, and then you don't wait for the blind to wear off to just auto again. So you missed the proc. So you waste that damage. And then you vault off of him, and then this is why this position is bad, because he moves over just a little bit to the left, and the vault doesn't do much for you. You don't actually gain any range from it. He's still right kind of where he wants to be. So you do land that auto. Thunderlords goes off. And then he ignites you, and now you're running, which you need to run. So that's not wrong. But here's the thing. If you had landed that Harrier auto and then vaulted and ignited and Harrier, then you'd probably have a kill here with the minion damage, almost certainly. Because you've got Ignite, and Ignite will do 150 damage at this level, right? Yep, 150 damage, and he's at 212 health. So if you had landed that Harrier auto and then hit Ignite, and he takes 1 or 2 more minion auto attacks, he's dead. You might die too, but at least you trade. And if you position better, then you probably don't die. So that wasn't really a good trade. You were going in, I'm not sure why you thought it was a good idea to go in. If you land the blind, then go in. But you got into range before you blinded. So he was able to get the Q off. So and then you messed up your positioning and allowed him to get inside, and so there's a few things you could have done better positioning wise and just strategically, and probably won that. But it was a really risky trade to go in for, period. I probably would recommend you just farm and wait for him to actually make a mistake, like pushing in too far so he's immediately going to take minion damage or something like that. Teemo will get antsy, especially in bronze. He'll get antsy. He'll get frustrated. He wants kills. He wants to annoy you. If you're just not letting him do that, if you're not playing his game and you just refuse to trade with him and you refuse to let him bully you and get in your head, and you just farm and back off and let him zone you and freeze the wave, he'll get antsy. He'll screw up. He'll over-aggress. He'll try to dive your turret. He'll do something stupid. He will. I guarantee it. All right. So now you come back to lane. So the last tick of damage kills you, which is super frustrating. That happens again a little later. Or just the very last tick of damage kills you. But okay, so you're back in the lane, and again, you had an opportunity to freeze it, but you didn't take it. You shoved, and unfortunately, now it's in a place where he could freeze it if he wants to, and he doesn't. But again, he could, and he could punish you brutally here. He's got an item advantage. If he wanted to, he could just sit right here or right up here and just completely zone you out from CS. So shoving there was not a good call. The only way it would be a good call is if you were able to shove it fast enough to hit the turret, so it would bounce off. But you don't have the items or the attack speed to do that quite yet. Okay, so here he goes. So this is what he's going to do to you every time he gets an opportunity now. And you have to know that this can happen, and you have to respect it. he can get this off. And this is where I don't know why you vaulted. Vault is what kills you here. You would have gotten away. So let's back up and take a look. So he is able to do this. He has a speed steroid. He can out-trade you. So if he can stay in range and out-trade you, then the only way that you would possibly win a fight with him right now is if you can just if you can just outlast that time when he's just going to win because of his blind and come back with some burst afterward. Greater burst. Enough burst to make up for the fact that you actually aren't participating in the trade for the first few seconds. So he lands an auto, and then he sees that he can kill you. So you get the cannon minion, which is probably worth taking 1 or 2 auto attacks. Like if that was all, if this was where it ended, it's probably okay. Because you have an opportunity right now to trade back. If you were to snap your Q right now, and I'm not sure why you don't. Maybe it's on cooldown. I don't think it's on cooldown, but maybe it is. I'm going to back up to see, because that would actually explain what happened here. Oh, that's why. It's on cooldown. Okay, so you used it to shove the wave, which is probably not a good idea. So he hits that last auto, but it's coming up in 2 seconds. So you know So you know that you're going to be okay here. Vaulting is not the right move. He has to, right now he's not going to catch you. I think his speed up is on cooldown, and even if he uses it, you'll be able to get back to your turret. But he has Ghost, and so at least you want him to force him to pop that summoner, which he does right there. And Ghost not only gives you a big speed boost, but it also... Oh, maybe it doesn't anymore. I thought it gave you some tenacity, but it might not. So now he's going to get in range, and he's going to hit you with 1 more auto attack. And it's the blind? Yeah. So hit you with this blind, which you know he's going to do. And so I don't know why you vault here. Because the vault is not going to gain you anything. It's going to put you right back where you started at max auto attack range. You don't if you're going to trade with him, then proc the first auto, which you would have missed because of blind. But if all you wanted was like the passive movement speed, then you didn't need to vault to do that. You could have just stopped and autoed and kept running and gotten the movement speed. But since he has Ghost, that's still not a good idea. Just keep running back to your turret so he can't chase you anymore. Like if you just keep running for another beat, Q comes up, you Q, he can't auto attack you. Even if he lands the blind, he can't follow up on it. So there's no way to win this trade probably, unless he really messes up. But this doesn't happen. And you don't have to buy a new keyboard because you broke it over your knee. Okay, so right now he doesn't have a huge minion advantage, although he'll build one up here. But he does have a 2 kill advantage. He hasn't spent any of that gold, so he's a little stronger because of the Magi stacks. Or Dark Seal, I guess it isn't Magi's yet. But he's not significantly stronger than he was a second ago. So the power differential is actually more in your favor now than it was before you died, because he hasn't spent any of the money that he gained from killing you. So if you're going to trade with him, now is the time, because he's down summoners. You have Hex Drinker. So you got to keep that in mind too. Just because he just killed you doesn't mean he's automatically stronger than you. He has a level on you, and he has a Dark Seal stacks, which is not nothing, but it's not a huge deal. So you probably could have tried to force something there, because you have summoners, you have Ignite. But you're letting him push you into the turret, and you're not prepping the wave. I'm not sure why you gave that one up. So all of this is strategy, and you missed your Harrier proc there too. That's really, really bad. You're giving up a huge amount of DPS when you do that. Auto, Q, auto, vault, auto. Always try to weave auto attacks in and never give up a Harrier proc. You're also... it's good that you started to back off there. That was... that's wise. So like right here, you get an auto, and then he launches his Q, and you back off. which is fine. But like right here, he's not. You know, he's not chasing you anymore. His character just turned and he's heading back up towards here. And he knows he can't kill you. You're full health. You're heading towards your turret. Even if he chases you down, he's not going to be able to kill you right now. He doesn't. Oh, he has ignite, I guess, but he doesn't have ghost, so he probably can't catch you. So, you know, right now when you see him do this and understand that he probably knows he can't kill you, then you don't. I mean, I'm not saying turn around and go back on him, but you don't need to run back as far. You don't need to run all the way here. Like you could just kind of circle over here and get this. Don't give up this CS. Also, one little mechanical thing, start practicing when you auto attack, right click to auto attack, and then as the auto is in the air, immediately right click to move. Immediately cancel the wind down animation. It's a little tricky because if you do it too early, it will cancel the auto attack even if the animation plays, if the little projectile shows it goes. If you do it too early, it'll cancel it, and it's just a bug. It's an error. It doesn't actually. So don't do that. But if you can keep moving, you'll actually increase your ability to CS, and you'll be less predictable. It's easy for him to come and trade on you if he knows you're going to be standing there for a second after you last hit a minion. So there's a blind, so there's a trade. But again, you give up the Harrier proc. And you're standing there. While you're blinded, don't stand there. You get the kill, but again, because you're able to get the kill, that should tell you that you would have been able to win that trade easily. Not that far. So let's look. So here he goes. So you're last hitting, you give up the last hit there, and you land a good Q. And as soon as you launch this, you know it's going to hit. So you can immediately, so you turn him back off here. I don't know why. Like this Q is going to hit these minions and it's going to do damage to them all, which is going to not help you freeze. So the only reason that you would Q here is if you can get a kill. And you can get a kill. You have Ignite, you have Hex Drinker, you have an advantage here. So launch the Q and you know it's going to land, unless he flashes it or something, but it doesn't have flash, so it's going to land. So don't turn around and walk away from it. Go into it. Q and walk into it. So you Q, and what happens here is you give up an opportunity for a ton of DPS. So the Q lands, and then instead of autoing, you vault. And like if he just backs off, then just let him go. Like don't force it. If he just starts running away, then just let him go. But he turns here, and you could have autoed, and done almost all of his damage, and then Ignite, and then it's just a matter of waiting until. So you get that damage, and then he blinds you. So now that you're blinded, run away. Like move back into your minions, or move toward the brush. Don't just stand here. Move. Don't let you are literally doing nothing. You're taking 2 casters and Teemo auto attacks. Do anything other than just standing here and autoing. Like you can see the animation, you can see the little blind thing ticking right above your health bar, so you can see when it's going to go off. So just run, move, make him at least click or do something. Lower his DPS. So if you ignite him, which is fine, you can ignite him, that's good. And then he ignites you. See, if he doesn't land even one of these autos, you win this trade. Luckily, your passive procs him right as the blind wears off, and you proc that, and then you get one more auto in, or maybe 2 more. Yeah, you get really lucky. And you didn't need to get lucky. You shouldn't have gotten lucky. Like, with even just moving around, you would have won that without dying. And then you could force it and actually start turning that back in your favor. So, look to abuse trading windows. Wait for his blind to go on cooldown before you do anything. Plan out the wave. Look to freeze. Look to strategically use the lane to your advantage. Understand the matchup so that you're not going in for random trades. Pay attention to your positioning. Yeah, so anyway, I hope that was helpful. Hopefully there's some tips in there you can use to improve this matchup going forward, and there's a number of those things you can use in a lot of matchups, just positioning and ways to think about things. So yeah, hope that's helpful. Thanks for a chance to look at the game, and best of luck.